Hello there you guys, welcome to one of my videos. Going to be giving you the player ratings from Manchester United's 1-0 defeat to Crystal Palace at Selhurst Park. So I'm going to start with David De Gea. I'm going to give him a 6 out of 10. De Gea made some good saves to deny Wilfried Zaha and Jeffrey Schlupp. David De Gea was sensational throughout the course of last season. He's regarded as one of the best goalkeepers in the world. He's endured 11 seasons at the club, so reflecting on that, he's been a long-serving player. He's been with us since the Sir Alex Ferguson era. He's won everything domestically at the football club, and De Gea has made over 500 appearances for Manchester United in all competitions. His contract expires next year. De Gea earns £375,000 a week. Moving on to Diego Dalor, I'm going to give him a 5 out of 10. I thought defensively he was poor, and he was troubled by Wilfried Zaha in the whole game. He did show some good attacking intent at times, and he picked up a yellow card in the game. Diego Dalor was our first choice right back under Ralph Rangnick. I don't think he'll leave Man United this year. I think he'll probably leave next year. Before, Dalor had a loan spell with AC Milan. Reflecting on that, he gained some experience. Man United got Dalor from Porto. Got him for 19 million. His contract at Manchester United expires next year. Moving on to Victor Lindelof, I'm going to give him a 5 out of 10. Defensively, he was poor, but at times he looked composed on the ball, and he received a yellow card in the game. It was one of Lindelof's worst performances as a United player. Lindelof, he won't leave Manchester United this summer, but I think he'll leave next year. Don't forget he's under contract with the club until 2024. Man United got Lindelof from Benfica back in 2017, got him in a deal worth 31 million. So Lindelof's been at the club for around 4.5–5 years. Moving on to Harry Maguire, I'm going to give him a 3 out of 10. He enjoyed a very quiet game. That game against Crystal Palace would have been Harry Maguire's final game as a Manchester United player. I reckon that he's leaving the club this summer. He's not good enough to represent the club. Throughout the course of last season, a lot of Man United fans were demanding for the captaincy to be taken off Maguire. At one point, he was out with injuries. He's had quite a lot of injuries since he came to the club. Maguire's been at the club for around 3 years. Earlier on this year, Maguire received a bomb threat at his home, and reflecting on that, he run the police. Man United overpaid for Maguire, got him for 80 million. He's the most expensive centre-half in the world at the moment, and he's the second most expensive signing at the club behind Pogba. Moving on to Alex Telles. I'm going to give him a 4 out of 10. He enjoyed a very poor game. And I reckon the game against Palace was Tellez's last game as a United player. He's been poor for the last few months now. We've struggled to get the best out of him. Tellez was our first choice left back under Rangnick. Man United got Tellez from Porto back in 2020. Got him in a deal worth 15.4 million. Moving on to Fred. I'm going to give him a 6 out of 10. Average performance by him. Fred hasn't been as good, since he come back from injury. When Rangnick first came in, Fred was actually one of our best performers. Fred, I don't think he'll leave Man United this year, but I reckon there's a good chance he'll leave next year. Man United got Fred from Shakhtar Donetsk quite a few years ago. Got him in a deal worth 50 million. Moving on to Scott McTominay. He's going to get a 5 out of 10. I think McTominay did he pick a yellow card up in the game. He also had a very good headed chance, produced a save from the Crystal Palace goalkeeper. McTominay, he's not good enough to represent the club. I've got my strong reservations about him. But he's still young, he's got a lot of development in him. McTominay has been part of the club for a long time. He came up our academy. Revert back to 2020, he committed his future to the club because he signed a 5-year contract. Moving on to Bruno Fernandez, he's going to get a 4 out of 10. He was poor. Bruno Fernandez enjoyed a lot of poor games last season. We've struggled to get the best out of him since Ronaldo re-signed for the club. But despite that, Fernandez is still a very good player overall. Before Ronaldo came, he was very good. Earlier on this year, Fernandez signed a new contract with Man United until 2026 as an option of a further year. Fernandez earns around £240,000 a week now. When he signed the contract, his wages doubled. He's been a Man United player for over 2 years. Man United got him from Sporting Lisbon back in January 2020. Moving on to Hannibal. I'm going to give him a 7 out of 10. I thought he put a very good performance out. It was Hannibal's first start. He did actually have a good chance in the game. It produced a good save from the Crystal Palace goalkeeper. Hannibal was playing on the left-hand side. Moving on to Anthony Ilanga. I'm going to give him a 4 out of 10. He weren't that good. Ilanga, did enjoy good games throughout the course of last season. He also had his poor games as well. Don't forget, Ilanga joined Man United's academy at the age of 12. And he's got a contract with the club until 2026 as an option of a further year. Revert back to last season, Ilanga got racially abused on social media following his penalty miss against Middlesbrough in the FA Cup. I totally disagreed with Ilanga getting racially abused. Moving on to Edison Cavani, going to give him a 6 out of 10. Cavani actually had a very good chance in the game from pretty close range, produced a good save from the Crystal Palace goalkeeper. Cavani came on in the 4-0 defeat to Brighton. He did score in that game, but the goal got ruled out for offside. Cavani's leaving Man United on a free very soon. He's out of contract, isn't he, soon? Man United got Cavani on a free transfer from PSG back in the summer of 2020. Cavani had injury not so long ago. Man United brought 3 substitutions on in the game against Palace. We saw Juan Mata come on. I'm going to give Juan Mata a 7 out of 10. I thought he made an impact when he came on. Not sure what's happening with Mata at the moment. I initially thought he was going to be leaving, but prior to the Palace game, the Manchester Evening News said that Juan Mata doesn't rule out staying at Man United. Mata's endured 9 seasons at the club, so he's been a long-serving player. He's been at Man United for around 8 years. He is out of contract very soon. We saw Garnacho come on. I'll just give him a 5 out of 10. Don't forget, Garnacho got a brace in Man United's 3-1 win against Nottingham Forest. It was obviously the under-8 teams. It was the FA Youth Cup. And we saw Sholo Shortire come on. I'll give him a, 5 out of 10. So that is your player ratings from Manchester United's 1-0 defeat to Crystal Palace. Of course, Man United were missing players. Obviously, there was no Ronaldo because Ronaldo recently picked up a hip injury. Marcus Rashford, he's been out with illness. You know, there was no Jadon Sancho because he was out with illness. Luke Shaw's injured, so he wasn't playing. Pogba, he's still out with injury. Jones recently picked up a knock as well. Mason Greenwood, you know, he's still not available because he got suspended by the club. Last season was Man United's worst ever Premier League season. You know, Man United finished just on 58 points and Man United finished 6th. You know, Man United are in the Europa League for next season. Eric Ten Hag obviously attended the game against Crystal Palace. The Crystal Palace goal came from Wilfred Zaha. You know, Zaha scored against his old club. Crystal Palace, you know, they were also missing some players as well. Obviously, they were missing Nathan Ferguson. They were missing James Tompkins. They were missing some other players as well. The Crystal Palace manager is Patrick Vieira. Crystal Palace appointed him in last year. When Patrick Vieira got appointed in, he signed a 3-year deal. So he's under contract with Crystal Palace until 2024. Before Crystal Palace, Patrick Vieira managed Nice in France. Before then managed New York City and before managed Man City's reserves. Before Patrick Vieira, Crystal Palace had Roy Hodgson. Roy Hodgson left Crystal Palace at the end of last season, then obviously went on to become the Watford manager. Man United did beat Crystal Palace at Old Trafford last season, 1-0. That was Rangnick's first game in charge as Man United's interim manager. But as you all know, Erik ten Hag is officially the Man United manager. You know, the Erik ten Hag era has begun. Erik ten Hag recently had his first interview as the Manchester United manager. Man United confirmed the appointments of Mitchell van der Gaag and Steve McLaren. You know, they'll be working alongside Erik ten Hag. Revert back to the other month, though, it got officially announced that Man United appointed ten Hag in. You know, ten Hag signed a 3-year contract with an option of a further year. Ten Hag is Man United's 5th permanent manager since Ferguson. Ten Hag's transfer budget has already been revealed. He's getting around 170 million. There's a lot of players that Ten Hag wants to bring to the club. I'll name quite a few of them. You know, he obviously wants to bring Jurgen Timber in. He wants to bring Anthony in. Now Man United are in for Pau Torres from Villarreal. You know, we've been heavily linked with Declan Rice. Ten Hag is also interested in Lisandro Martinez. So there you go. On the other side of things, Ten Hag is going to get rid of a lot of players. It said 10 players are set to leave Manchester United. But it's good that Ten Hag is experiencing the Premier League. You know, hopefully at Man United he can replicate what he did at Ajax. You've got to admire what he did at Ajax. He developed the young players well. He won Eredivisie titles, he won Dutch Cups, and revert back to 2019, he got Ajax to the Champions League semi-finals. You know, Ten Hag was the Ajax manager for around 5 years. Before, you know, Ten Hag managed Utrecht, Bayern Munich reserves and Go Ahead Eagles. So anyway guys, that's everything to update you with. Drop your comments, like, on the channel if you do consider subscribe as always, and take care. God bless. See you all again very soon.